So brief one. I went to a thing yesterday. I was lost. I asked God, uh, help me out, and immediate help was right there. It was like, okay, of course, here you go. That's not why I went to church this morning, but it made me laugh because it's not every day. I'm like, God, I just really need this, and God gives it. Uh, but those days that I do, it happens, and I'm just thankful for it. But that's not why I went to church this morning. Went to mass this morning because I was like, I went to the first one of the morning. Normally there's like a 6:15, so I got up. I was like, that's 6:15. I was like, I woke up six and got in the shower real quick, hustled over, and I was like, oh, it's Sunday. It's not seven. It's like 7:30 or something. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I'll kill some time. Went to go get breakfast. Went to IHOP. Of course, nobody's in the joint, and they got Christmas music playing, and it's piping in over the speakers, so you can hear the holly jolly Christmas, all that stuff, and got the whole place basically nobody's there, empty. I mean, I literally asked to go sit on the farthest place away from anybody possible. I said, "Can I?" She was like, "Okay, follow me." And I know, it's been a while since I've been to this IHOP, but once she recognized me, and after I said, "Oh, can I go sit over there?" She's like, "Oh, well, this I know this guy. Yes, of course, we're gonna go over there." And she sat me down away from everybody because I like to keep my back to, uh, I like to see comings and goings. I don't like to be near the front door where I can't see anybody, and kind of like to have the purvey of where I'm sitting in a large space like that with people coming and going. So all the way in the back, order my omelet, poblano, spicy poblano omelet. Yeah, all veggie, just just eggs and veggies and peppers. It's a little spicy. It's not too spicy, but yeah, I'm enjoying myself, and I don't usually like to actually go back and rewatch my streams um, more than just to see if they were really shoddy with the volume or if it was lagging or something like that. But I made one yesterday. I was like, I did a tune. I kind of wanted to hear how the tune sounded. So I was sitting there watching, eating my omelet, all peaceful, like nobody around me, whole restaurant to myself. And the waitress comes and sits down, and two man woman, elderly couple, right next to me. God's got a sense of humor. Because in the video I'm talking about, put my faith in God, trust God, and this and that. And so I'm watching my video, whole restaurant to themselves. They could have said, well, can we go sit a little bit over here? Because I asked that, and you're old enough to know better that if you really want to sit someplace where you're not going to be interacting with somebody, you can say, hey, can we sit somewhere else? And you don't have to even just say that before you sit down. You can go sit down, read the environment, read the room, and and as I'm sitting there listening, they had plenty of time while I'm sitting there listening to my video, and I'm enjoying myself, not paying any attention to them other than the fact that they sat down and that they're older, 70s plus, mid 70s to 80s, maybe 80s, early 80s, man, woman, couple, two couples, and it's like, all right, there's radio up there, my music's coming down. They're going to be having a conversation. I'm not being any louder. than anything that they might be hearing over the radio or at the table. It was as if I was having a conversation with somebody else. And before they ordered, they didn't even order drinks. Lean over to me and say, "Kid," I ignored it. "Excuse me." I gave the side glance, the side eye, eating my omelet all calm and like, listening to my radio. "Excuse me." I looked up, said good morning, went back to eat my omelet, chewing my food. "Can you turn that down?" At this point, I knew exactly what they were talking about. They wanted me to turn my radio down, my little video I'm watching. I knew exactly what they were talking about, but I was not going to let it go without some sort of melee. So, act confused. "Huh? You talking to me?" No, not you talking to me like taxi driver, but all polite, nice. "Pardon?" And because I do read lips well because of my hearing problem, and I do have a hearing problem in loud places like that. That's why I like to sit away from everybody if I can. And I like to go in when everything's nice and quiet, so I don't run into issues like this. Can you? And so I wasn't just going to allow one person at that table to talk for the rest of them. I made them all do it one by one. So they were all a part of it. It was a conspiracy to get me to turn my radio down, of which I had been there, situated myself, had my omelet, and I was established, and they had just come in. They were interlopers. They had the whole restaurant to themselves. At that point, they were not infirmed. None of them had a cane. They were all very, very well capable, get up and move. At that point, had they not liked the situation, they could have read the room and said, "Oh, can we go sit on the other side of the restaurant?" The IHOP restaurant. I said I'd be brief. So, one by one, I said, I'm like, because I do have a hearing problem. I'm like, "Say that again." And I made each one of them go ahead and say, your radio, can you turn that down?" So at this point, they're making a spectacle of themselves because I was sitting there alone in a large place where they could have gone somewhere else. They could have gotten up. They hadn't ordered drinks, moved somewhere else instead of messing with me. So I made them aware of their behavior. Old people know better. They know better than to mess with somebody sitting there by themselves unless they want to create a problem. So I let them create a problem. I could have been all polite at the first time, just say, "Excuse me, can you turn that down?" But no, they were the ones causing a problem. So I let them stir themselves up, because if they were going to mess with me and my digestion, I'm going to make them pay for it. Instead of, they could have just gotten up peacefully, gone, "Hey, can we sit somewhere else?" And then ordered their drinks and sat down and been able to digest their meal peacefully. So no, I did not let that interference with my strategy of being a peaceful, leave me alone, I don't want to bother nobody bother me. So I made them all get riled up, each one by one. I had to look each one of them in the eye. I said, what are you saying? And each one looked at him. Are you saying that, is this bothering you? Is that what you're saying? This thing? And so I turned it down after I said I've got a hearing problem. I'm sorry, and I'm trying to read your lips, but you're talking too fast. And the old guys, he starts laughing. Yeah, I got my hearing aid too. And I said, what'd you say? And they all laughed. I made him laugh again. And I turned my radio down real silent, and I leaned into my phone, and I'm listening like this, and I'm going to try to eat, and I'm making it look real uncomfortable, and I'm looking at them because my phone's here, and they're sitting there, and I'm trying to lean in, listen to my good ear, and boy, I made them feel uncomfortable for making me feel uncomfortable. And then after, about 60 seconds, I gave it 60 seconds to let it all sink in with them, and they got real silent because they were like, well, if we're going to tell him not to be quiet or to be loud, we should whisper. And they started whispering to themselves. At that point, I looked over. I got my plate because it was a whole section all to myself. I went, got my stuff, picked it up, went over to another table, gathered the things I was eating, my omelet and my water and my jacket, went over there, sat down, turned my radio back up, and started eating my omelet again. Laughing, I'm laughing to myself. So, good job, old people. Good job. And then, of course, I got my butt to church. It was one of those get your butt to church days. So, went to church, heard a good message, and then I don't stay for the whole thing. As soon as they start passing around the plate, it's like, if I wanted to give you money, I'd give you the money. You don't have to pass me a plate to give you money. So when they start passing the plate out, that's when I go upstairs, kind of sit in the back. I'm back to the classroom kind of guy. So, nobody messes with you back there, and it's not too loud. So at that point, I go downstairs where there's, nobody around. People are standing there because there's a speaker in case there's overflow. And I just come to hear the word of God. I mean, I'm not like religious. I just believe in God. God, sometimes has people here that can speak for them, because oftentimes, I got a hearing problem, and sometimes I don't hear so good. And God talks to me, and when I ask, hey God, let me give me some direction. God gives me directions, but oftentimes you're not always listening. But when you make an overt effort to listen, God will, give you a good message. And so I go downstairs, and that's the place where where the babies, kids and babies, and they don't want to take them inside because the kids run around if they're not well behaved or whatever. And babies, they don't have a volume control. So I'm standing there, and there's a baby, and it was just a baby, and it starts chattering. It's like he's like singing. The baby's singing, and it's like having a good old conversation. Then the dad's just sitting there. I can tell the dad doesn't speak baby, and the baby's. I mean, baby's basically. So as the minister is speaking, baby's talking with the minister and God, and everybody's talking with God, and the baby's talking with God, and it's got a very joyful voice. I mean, it's like I start laughing. I'm laughing. And I look over, and Dad catches me laughing, and he doesn't get it. He just thinks his baby's making noises. Dad doesn't speak baby. He's just a dad. Being a dad, probably hadn't slept, but he got his butt to church, and his baby, being all happy as baby was, made me laugh. I'm sitting there laughing. I'm laughing. I'm starting to cry, laughing. Tears are coming down. I was like, so it was like, it's a peace be with. It was time for may peace be with you, and I go over. I made an over effort and shook the nice older man that was standing there, very gentle man. And peace be with you. And I went over and shook the father's hand. I said, "Peace be with you. That is the most joyful voice I've heard in a long time." And he didn't say a word after that. He didn't. He kind of looked down. I said, "Peace be with you" to the baby. I walked out. So I was going through the parking lot and to get to the car, and I was still laughing. I looked up. I said, "You got the best sense of humor," and then I just kept on laughing. Still laughing.